Okay, good evening, Dr. Schmidt and my fellow classmates. This is Spencer Bogle, and I am here to give you a little glimpse of a SDAIE strategy lesson that I came up with. And my content area is English. That's my desired content area, and I'm looking to ideally teach within the 11th to 12th grade range. Okay, and that the reason behind that is we get to read such interesting stuff. So I read in the content area in Common Core, it specifically mandates that Shakespeare is to be read by the students in California, and of course, I'm sure that was everyone's experience in California and elsewhere. So I wrote a entire lesson plan based on themes in my favorite Shakespeare play, which is the tragedy of Macbeth. If you happen to be in a theater, you would call it the Scottish play. And I wrote several activities that are more based on text comprehension, more traditional stuff, but I thought I would show you my idea for a exercise I call the Cauldron of Fate. I was also calling it the Murder Cauldron, and I'll tell you why. Um, this, in my opinion, would be a really cool thing to do for Halloween because of the nature of the play. The play is dark and violent, and the atmosphere that I've come up with. So your materials for this particular lesson, this strategy, is get one of those cool Halloween plastic witches cauldrons. Bigger the better. The more dramatic looking, the better. In my lesson plan, I detail a few ideas for decorations of the classroom. In my opinion, the more outrageous and hammy, the better, especially for Halloween. For this demonstration, unfortunately, we will have to make do with a small bowl here. But basically, you set up the cauldron in the middle of the class, and you go through and recite, chant if you can get the kids to do it. A couple of the scenes involving the witches in Macbeth, and particularly the famous double boil and toil and trouble, cauldron burn and fire. I'm sorry, fire burn and cauldron bubble. It's very famous. That's a good place to check for prior knowledge because I think a lot of people will be familiar with it. And at that point, in the cauldron, I have small slips of paper that have the name and a hierarchical ranking of seven different characters in the play Macbeth. Okay, so here's what the hierarchy is. Number one, King Duncan. Number two, Prince Malcolm. Number three, Prince Donalbain. Number four, the Thane of Cawdor. Number five, Macbeth. Number six, Macduff. And number seven, Lady Macbeth. Okay, so the characters are all there, and the hierarchical relationship of the characters is very important. Okay, the whole lesson is based around an analysis of the theme of fate and the question that you see popping up in Western literature throughout its history of to what extent does an individual person have any real control over their own fate? Okay, so basically, the hierarchy is important because the students are trying to get to number one, which is King Duncan. Everyone will go into groups and they will pick out at random. For each group, we'll get one character. I got Macbeth himself. Nice. Okay, Macbeth is number five. He's at the lower end of the hierarchy. In the structure of the play is basically a big succession of murders and ambitions, assassinations. So what the kids are trying to do is that they are assigned by fate a position in the hierarchy that was not of their choosing. much like inheriting a kingdom or being born as a woman at that time, and or being born as a peasant or a peasant woman. So they are assigned that fate, and their object is to murder the person above them and keep going up and up and up, like it is in the play. Macbeth in the play defeats the Thane, becomes the Thane of Cawdor when he defeats the other Thane, and he eventually murders King Duncan, of course, and then attempts to kill Macduff, but Macduff kills him. So the way that the students are able to attack each other, to duel, is pretty simple. You can just do a quiz show type thing. I recommend that you do quizzes that emphasize knowledge of the text. You can do phrase finishing exercises, so you could say finish the phrase "fair is foul," and then whoever rings in with "foul is fair, hover through the fog in the filthy air" would win. You could do plot points, you could do an analysis of the theme, anything you want. But the point of the exercise is to not know where you start and to ruthlessly try to defeat your peers, your enemies, and end up on top. Okay? Like I said, the fact that it is not a fair exercise, that it is not egalitarian, is very important to it because it illustrates the fact that no one controls the circumstances of their own birth. And to an extent, it should get the kids talking about whether or not an individual person really can influence and choose their own circumstances, and if they can really change who they are and move up the ladder. Okay, and what do they have to do in order to accomplish that? As far as standards go, like I said, the Common Core Content Standard is there for Shakespeare. This is also particularly related to reading standards, key ideas and details. Number 1, cite strong and thorough textual evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text, including determining where the text leaves matters uncertain. Okay? And then also reading standards, key ideas and details. Number 7, analyze multiple interpretations of a story, drama, or poem, e.g. recorded or live production of a play or re-recorded novel or poetry, evaluating how each version interprets the source text. Okay? And then finally, it also, I thought, satisfied an EL standard, English Language Development Standard, Part 1, Letter A, number 1, exchanging information and ideas with others through oral collaborative discussions on a range of social and academic topics. Because in addition to the competition, you should have a reflection at the end of the exercise talking about the nature of fate and how the exercise illustrates the way birth and circumstance affect the outcomes of the characters' lives. All right, thank you for listening. Sorry, I think I went slightly over long, but thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to steal it. Signing out.